Dr. Ye works with patients who are suffering sleep disorders, many with depression. Insomnia hinders the ability for the brain to repair itself during sleep. The number of hours sleep you have a night directly relates to the likelihood of you suffering depression. Is it common to get such an emotional response with this technique?
It's because Miss Chang, she just suffered from some heartbroken event. During this muscle relaxation training, she felt warm and safe, just like in mother's womb. When this therapy finished, his reality come back. Her reality come back. So she felt emotional. She cried.
Sure.
Derek, do you know how to breathe?
Yeah, I try and do it a bit every day.
Yeah, okay. Would you like to try the real deep breath to make you relax? Okay. Our heartbeat is not regular. We have some tiny variability between every heartbeat.
Okay.
We can't find out, but computer, yes.
Okay, and that indicates whether you're relaxed or stressed.
Yes. When you breathe in...
Dr. Ye uses a biofeedback machine to assess how her patients progress through her therapy session.
And breathe in faster. And then you will have more air to breathe out. We have good progress. Very nice. Very nice.
Low levels of oxygen in the brain are associated with depression and other changes in the brain waves, which is why being mindful of your breath is encouraged for people suffering depression and insomnia. These techniques remind me of a pop star I heard of not so long ago who turned to meditation to overcome his depression. He's living here in Taipei, and he's invited me to his studio to meet with him. Despite his youth and his success, Huang Yide suffered severe and ongoing depression. He wrote his album, The Great Finale, as a recognition of his journey through those darkest days. Can you describe to me what it was like when you were depressed? How were you feeling? What was happening in your mind?
I don't feel like talking to anybody. I don't feel like going out. My only friend is like drinking. There was one time I opened the windows, and I was thinking maybe I should jump down, and that's it. And then I really did it. I went out and I was thinking whether to jump or not. Depression is really dangerous. For people like me, I'm staying alone. It's really dangerous. You need someone by your side to really, take care of you. And I was lucky that I'm still alive.
When you were performing, do you think your fans could tell that you were depressed?
No.
You're very happy?
Yeah, I have to be professional,
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell anybody. Even I tell the company, say that I'm sick.
Sure. Tell me about the meditation experience.
Meditation is actually I learned from Temple last year. A lot of people, they couldn't have really enough patience to do meditation because you have to sit out there for an hour.
Yes.
Well, actually, you don't have to. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes will help.
So when you went there, did you completely subscribe to the monk lifestyle?
I mean, shaving hair is fine. But we have to shave the eyebrow, and it looked funny. Really, really funny. And then the worst thing is that you cannot wear underwear.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Did it feel different?
I feel good.
How do you think things are different for you now that you've experienced the monastery for a couple of weeks? Do you think about things differently? See the world differently?
Me, I don't know. I just feel happy inside.
Okay.
I just feel happy, and life should be really simple.
The experience Yide had in the monastery has inspired me on my own journey. So this is the male dormitory.
Yeah, you are very too egocentric, and your ego is too strong.
My search for happiness is now going to take me far into the interior of the country, where the pace of life is completely different from modern-day Taipei. At the turn of the century, less than 2% of Taiwanese were depressed. Now the figures are around 10%. I'm Dr. Derek Su, and I'm on my way to meet a group of people who will teach me an age-old Eastern method to avoid this pandemic of sadness. As I head into rural Taiwan, I already feel so much happier and calmer being surrounded by nature. There's no doubt that the pace of modern life has added to our unhappiness. We are busier than ever. We are more stressed than ever. Machines and technology are supposed to free us of hard work so we have more leisure time. But often the opposite is true. Technology has disconnected us from nature, and stress has become an accepted part of modern life. I'm about to experience the opposite of that, for at the end of the trail is a monastery where I will spend the next 24 hours. So nice to see you. So this is the male dormitory.
Yeah, here, see, this is a room. So maybe you can change the clothes first, and then you can come downstairs and join us.
I think about how materialistic the world has become, and yet here the nuns live very simply. Does money buy you happiness? It seems not. Certainly, for these nuns, less is more. Shifu Samadhi has agreed to talk with me about how she views happiness. She's been a Buddhist nun for more than 15 years and has many years' experience dealing with people suffering depression and hardship.
Like, for example, you know, the most important thing for happiness is to be detached, you know, to be, you must do away with your attachments.
So you think a lot of the unhappiness that we have in the world is because people are attached to things?
Yeah, you're attached to your likes or dislikes. You know, you have that ego, you are very too egocentric, and your ego is too strong.
Buddha taught that life is full of suffering, but how we approach this suffering will create the difference. If we focus on self, we will create unhappiness. But if we focus on compassion towards others, we create bliss. Quite simply, we become what we think. Shifu sets me a meditation practice. I have to still my mind, focus on the breath, and contemplate compassion for all beings.
Meditation is a way you learn to understand yourself. You learn to understand your habits, and you learn to observe yourself. So it is at all times that you are watching your mind all the time.
And you always have like 1,000 million thoughts coming at you. How do you push it away, or how do you let go of that thought?
You must tell yourself, I must stop. Okay, if you cannot stop, okay, then you have to turn your focus to the, maybe you have to focus on your breathing.
Scientific research has actually shown how meditation increases the size and activity level of the left prefrontal cortex. Those with a more active left prefrontal cortex have been found to be happier, more peaceful, and calmer. In contrast, those with a more active right prefrontal cortex have been found to be more depressed and prone to antisocial behavior. All around me is a sense of pure peace I was missing in Taipei.
I never thought I was going to be in a monastery full of nuns somewhere in the middle of Taiwan, but here I am. Anyway, I got to get a good night's sleep because tomorrow I've got to start at 3:30 for some lessons and prayers. Good night.
It's 4 a.m. and morning prayer time. Every morning, the nuns practice the same ritual. Only this time, I'm joining them. Cultivating happiness is something we can all do by being mindful of our choices. And extending our compassion to others is something that creates positive mental energy. My stay at the monastery has been enlightening, to say the least. I take with me the feeling of peace from being in nature, from slowing down, practice mindful awareness, and a reminder of how the trappings of the modern world are not the things that will make us truly happy. But some kinds of severe depression require serious and dangerous intervention.
And only apply to the patient which is so-called extreme cases.
Next, I meet a man who is an expert in the gravest matters of the mind. When meditation, medication, and therapy don't work, rates of depression rise. But more troubling, so do the rates of suicide. As a medical doctor, I want to connect with other practitioners in the East who perform cutting-edge surgery, which might one day be used to treat the most serious cases of depression. After my time in the monastery, I wonder how much influence we have over depression as an illness. There is now very good evidence that some people's depression is associated with factors beyond their control. I've heard of a neurosurgeon on the cutting edge of a new technology for brain disorders. His name is Dr. William Chen, and he's working in the coastal town of Hualien at the Siqi Hospital. The surgery he performs is known as deep brain stimulation, and it may one day have implications for sufferers of severe depression. Dr. Chen has done more than 130 deep brain surgeries on Parkinson's patients. I want to meet him to find out what he knows about the brain's ability to repair itself using electrical stimulation. You've obviously had a lot of experience with using deep brain stimulation in Parkinson's, but I understand right around the world, many doctors in Europe and the US are doing clinical trials in such areas as depression. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Because of the success in using DBS to treat Parkinson's disease, now researchers and scientists, they are using the DBS technology to explore the brain structures. In the old days, they are using the electric shock device, and they can bring a lot of damage to the brain. A 1 millimeter diameter probe into the brain structures, we can have a limited destruction to the brain, and the stimulation is reversible.
During deep brain stimulation, Dr. Chen enters the brain through 2 holes in the skull and threads an electrode in the white matter. This surgery was only used for Parkinson's disease. But for depression, surgeons in the United States and Europe are currently testing the effects of placing the probes 2 centimeters deeper to a part of the brain called Area 25. Once the electrode is in place, electrical impulses are sent to the specific tissue targets to test its effects. The goal, to stimulate the circuit that is damaged. In Parkinson's patients, it instantly removes tremors. In depression patients in the US and Europe, the results have been transformative.
When the stimulation turns on, the patient maybe laugh. You just laugh, and when you ask the patient why you laugh, he said, "No, I just want to laugh," and that's the stimulation effect.
How do you avoid that hitting the wrong spot?
You have to know the road map when you're driving. So you have to know the structures, that's the target and the boundary of the target very clearly.
Doctors still don't know why deep brain stimulation works. The exact mechanism remains elusive. But what they suspect is the electric shock incites a massive neurochemical release in the brain.
We don't know why, but it works. Yeah, it just works.
But such radical surgeries have their critics. Many doctors believe depression is a result of a complex interaction of biological and psychological factors, and the vast majority of cases will never be solved with surgery.
You know, when treating a disease with a new technology, one must be careful and must be take cautious, especially in the field of psychiatric. What real medicine have to be done is to do no harm to the patient.
So what role do you see DBS in the future for depression? Who could potentially, or what kind of patients would potentially use this?
They are using DBS to treat the patient in OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and also Tourette syndrome, and also some depression disorder.
So deep brain stimulation wouldn't be, for example, be used on just say everyday depression if I was just feeling depressed. It would only be used for really extreme cases where other treatments weren't working.
Only applied to the patient which is so-called extreme cases.
In cases of severe depression, it's not just the patient's mood that is in decline, but also the structure of their brain. When we sleep at night, our brain repairs itself, replenishing cells through a process called neurogenesis. In severe ongoing depression, the hippocampus and possibly the frontal lobes of the brain appear to shrink. Depression could therefore be regarded as a mild neurodegenerative disorder like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. But luckily, the only difference with depression is that it's reversible.
The music is like the media.
Means some energy into my brain.
Next, how singing can actually help repair the inner workings of your mind. So why does the brain stop growing and replenishing cells? The answer is chronic stress. The kind of stress that is slow, sustained, relentless. Someone who knows about chronic stress is Donnie O. His fight against cancer was affected by severe depression. When faced with a long, drawn-out struggle for his life, Donnie became suicidal. Donnie is here today as part of a group run by Professor Xiao from the National Taiwan University. Her therapy tries to integrate the mind, body, and spirit. She exposes her patients to classical music, singing, and the sense of touch to connect them with their inner selves.
让每一个人都有一些内在的力量，去帮助自己，所谓的自我疗愈。
好，我们发出妈的声音。
What is the importance of the music?
The music is like the media into our body. We will choose the harp because it's safe. The music is more like guide us to childhood. Patient can get easier into the image. So it won't be the sad or happy. It creates more space.
So it helps you connect with your own emotions and what's happening in your life?
Yes.
Professor Xiao believes that her patients' ability to make these sounds acts as a guide to understand them better. So any difficulty they experience singing certain notes helps identify the problem and its location in the mind or body.
How did you find the exercises today, Donnie?
When I feel stressful, when I feel very sad, actually my brain is very slow, very down, everything negative.